So I'm just going to throw out a couple services that I saw that you're providing within your platform, and then if you could just outline them a little bit. Project tracking, we've talked about it a lot, but could you just spend a couple minutes just say what that entails within your system?
Yeah, absolutely. So these large multi-million dollar projects that we've been talking about typically have phases to them. They, a beginning, middle, end phase, quite granular. Often there's, 20, 30, 40 different phases, depending on the length or term of this project. On some of the service type work, that's a little bit more, a little shorter in timeline, like a couple days. There might only be a couple different things that you're doing, but you might want to track activity that's being done to that specific code or to that specific phase. So our project tracking module is really, it allows field crews to, again, record that information against a code or against a phase to provide real-time insight back at the office level of budget versus actual, completion rates, how you're doing on each phase, and allow you as a business to identify an area that needs improvement, right? If you put a budget out there for, $10,000 for this welding phase, and all of a sudden you're tracking towards this phase being, $20,000 double, there's an area of improvement that might not have been illuminated as quickly or as easily if you didn't have a tool that was tracking that progress in real time. So for those of you out there that are using like a project management or project planning tool, like a Microsoft Project, P6 Primavera, something like that, you're very familiar already with that kind of Gantt chart format of project management and project planning. This takes that Gantt chart and actually superimposes it over top of your job and provides real-time updates and tracking on those. So it's a huge value add for overall performance and efficiency gains in the field.
Yeah. That's yeah, definitely. I want to go on to the dispatch side because, well, I like to choose a couple things that I don't know very much about, and dispatch is one of them. Can you walk through that system a little bit?
Yeah, certainly. So the idea with Aimsio is always to try and bring all of these operational processes under one umbrella instead of having customers using 3 or 4 different systems. The idea being, let's bring these key things that operational heavy companies do on a daily basis into a single system, and dispatch was one of them. So dispatching is, again, simplified for the call here, it is just the act of assigning resources to a job, right? That could be crew, could be equipment, anything that you would typically assign to a job or dispatch or schedule for that job. So we digitize that workflow, and what we actually realized when we would go into our customers' offices in the early days is that they would have these huge whiteboards and these magnets on these whiteboards, and they'd be moving around. Yeah.
Yeah,
sure, there's a lot of them out there still. And you're moving these magnets around onto different jobs and trying to keep track of things. So we asked ourselves, well, what if that was a digital process? What could we do to make that even better? So that's in essence what our dispatching module does, is it provides anybody that is in that role or capacity at a company the ability to assign drag and drop resources over to jobs, plan out jobs in advance where there's 2 or 3 week window of a job being performed. You want to kind of align your crew, make sure that there's no overlap, make sure that there's no errors in that dispatching process, and even communicate directly from the tool itself to the cell phones of your crew. So as soon as you dispatch somebody and send a confirmation to them, they get a text message on their phone saying, hey, Jerrod, you were just assigned to this job, respond to with the job number to confirm. And then the team back in the office, all you got to do is hit the number on your text. You don't even need to go into the tool. And the team back in the office sees that, Jerrod just accepted this job. He's going to be there. Right. So it's a great way to kind of track that and also see any kind of variances or discrepancies where, all of a sudden Jerrod did say he was going to be there, but Jerrod didn't show up on the field ticket. Well, how come? Did Jerrod, play hooky today? I'm sorry to pick on you, by the way, but did he get missed on the ticket? Is that an opportunity for revenue, billable revenue that we missed out on for whatever reason. Right. So all these things become illuminated once you're able to integrate dispatching into your operations. It's definitely one of our most popular modules.
So, and then also I'm thinking, so then your supervisor doesn't have to phone you and say, hey, where are you? You know, this whole system that you have to, this whole conversation that you have to go. I've been on both sides. I've been the supervisor that's had to give the call and also been the call. You're like, oh, just send me the text on where I'm going.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And same thing on equipment. I mean, one thing that always comes up is like equipment. Like it's one thing for people to have calendars, right? We all have calendars. We live by them. I'm tied to mine. And you know, we're people. That's just the way it goes. But equipment tends to not have a calendar, right? Equipment pieces like that excavator, that coil unit, that hydrovac truck, that generator, it typically doesn't have a calendar, but in Aimsio, in dispatching, everything has a calendar, and it allows you to really have a visualization of when that, you know, coil unit is now available. Can it be used on another job? So maximizing equipment utilization comes up as a direct result of this. And again, a great opportunity to make more revenue, just have access to greater revenue.
I think, you know, even all these service industries that you, I mean, that, and I think of all the contractors I've had to work with over the years, and just how there's always running behind, and they're phoning, trying to figure out where where a unit is that needs to get on site over here, but they're 45 minutes away, but the job takes 15 minutes longer, and all of that stuff, streamlining that system in real world use is just an amazing thing. We talked about it a little bit. There's two things I want to quickly touch on. One is the invoicing system, because we did touch on it already, so we'll just touch on it quickly here. And I just want to close off with a little discussion about AI, because again, that's the glaze over topic, but it's such an important topic. I know there's a bit of integration into Aimsio. So I just want to highlight the invoicing just one more time. Just quickly discuss that system, and then I want to jump over to that AI to wrap up the interview.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll address the invoicing thing with a bit of a real world example. It tends to make the most sense when you're trying to understand it. So we had a customer, now a customer, before they were a customer of Aimsio's. I walked into their office, and I walked into their accounts receivable office, and there was a young lady sitting at a desk, and in front of her, and I'm not kidding you, there were piles of field tickets in front of her. Piles and piles of field tickets, because they're doing daily tickets, right? Or sometimes weekly tickets on different jobs. So she had a tremendous amount, and she just had this kind of overwhelmed look on her face. And I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Well,"
laughing, because we've all seen that look.
Right, exactly.
It's all seen it.
Right, pulling her hair out. And she said, "Well, I need to invoice these field tickets, and I got to match them up with the right price book, the right customer, make sure the rates are all good, make sure they're all stamped or approved, signed off on. And then I need to put them together. And I also need to scan them into the system so that when I send the invoice, I can also send copies of these authorized field tickets to the customer, because that's what our customers want. They want proof that these tickets were authorized before they're invoiced." So we talked about that for a while. And, I ultimately said, "Okay, well, if we can make this easier for you, would that be of value? Like, if we could make this kind of go away in a sense, would that be of value?" And she, of course, agreed. So fast forward, we're actually able to take that process and literally digitize the whole thing and turn it into a process that can take minutes instead of days or weeks. So a field ticket gets submitted from a mobile device out in the field. It's instantly available in the office. The accounts receivable person would then go through and however often they want, daily, weekly, however, they go in, they just simply select a customer in the system that has work being done for them, and 10 field tickets, let's say. They click a button to convert that over to an invoice, and the system actually brings all the line items out of that field ticket, converts it over to an invoice based on their configurations, because that process is very unique from company to company. So we make sure that is brought into the system. But it's a quick conversion. over to an invoice, and then that can be sent directly to a customer. It can be if an invoicing file can be sent over to the customer if they're using some kind of a vendor management system or e-settlement platform. It can be sent, of course, over to their accounting system as well. But that whole process goes from days, weeks to a matter of minutes. So again, one of the larger value adds for sure when it comes to our platform.
Yeah, the other thing that I'm thinking of is if as a customer, if I know somebody, there's actually two things that's come to my mind here. One, obviously, people also buy and sell companies, and if I walked into a company, I would either have to now, from this interview, I would have to now know that a company is capable of putting a system like this in place, and would certainly be more interested if they have this system in place. If they showed me, yeah, we've got 700 people on board, and here's our 50,000 Excel spreadsheets to keep track of everything, I'd be going, oh, okay, all right. How much slippage do we have here? But yeah, I want to. The AI part. Oh, by the way, and that ties into insights. And just for the sake of time, I think we can tell the audience, that Aimsio brings all of this into a tracking system, which you can see all the insights and all the tracking of it. It's just absolutely amazing. And you've got a fair amount of information on your website, and of course, contact you directly to find out more about that system as well. Is that the insight system? Is that integrated in? Does it automatically, as you're putting everything else in place, do the insights automatically formulate?
Yeah, great question. Our insights module is an analytics engine. It's embedded in Aimsio, and it actually is a way to visualize the information that's being collected. Again, to not get too fluffy. I mean, there's a lot of information that operationally centric, field centric companies are generating on a daily basis. A ton of information, and right now that information is being relegated to a filing cabinet somewhere in the office and never to be looked at again, and it loses all of its value. But there is a tremendous amount of value and a tremendous amount of insight in that data. So that is information, right? And pen to paper, a cell in a spreadsheet, it's all data. It's all information that has the ability to be converted into a real asset class for any company out there. Because information, as we all know, is being hailed as the new currency in a lot of ways, right? It's data as a new currency. We've heard it time and time again, but believe it or not, there's a lot of truth to that. And it might be something as simple as that example I used earlier about, that welding phase of your job being a little bit over budget, and managing that and making a little tweak, a little check, a little change to make sure that doesn't happen, and just do that at scale. All of a sudden your business is much more, it's much more optimized, right? So insights is just a way of looking at the data that you're already generating: safety data, project data, purchase order data, estimation data, field ticket data, invoice data, customer data, revenue data. All these things now have a home within the system to allow you to look at that as an asset class, and from a management perspective, make changes, and educated changes, decisions based on data that will ultimately improve the equity of your business and ultimately improve the value of your company, and get it ready to go for the next downturn, for example, if that comes as well.